sitting in the Aradhana studio where I used to work. I mentioned to him कि यार तेरे फिल्म में पल्ले नहीं पड़ते. By which time I had worked on quite a few films of Mani's. So Mani says, यार पल्ले नहीं पड़ता तो काम कैसे कर लेता है? हमने कहा संगीत का पूरा ज्ञान ना हो, फिर भी जब कुछ चीज़ें बेसुरा हो जाती हैं तो पहचान में आ जाता है कि यार ये इधर बेसुरा हो गया. हमने कहा उतना ज्ञान है, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं है. तो Mani thinks about it. Then on that basis we can continue to work with each other. I first met Mani, I think I must have been in my first year or maybe second year at the institute, and he had come with Duvida, which had just been finished. And Dr. Kumud Mehta had also come to introduce the film to us. Again, Dr. Mehta is also no more. It was a brief meeting, it wasn't much. But the relationship grew from then on. My first working relationship with him was during the process of making Gashiram Kotwal, a Marathi film. Mani more or less directed the film. There were other directors involved also. Certain sequences were conceived and shot by them. And again, there were a number of cameramen involved. It wasn't a single cameraman's work. And in fact, during the course of one shot, which is about 10 minutes long, there were 4 operative cameramen who would take over from each other because the camera was doing a series of 360-degree pans. And they had to duck under the camera and hand it over to the next person to proceed further. Then there was a small hiatus, and I worked on Drupad next, that is 82. Gashiram Kotwal is, I think, 1977. It was shot during 1977, that I remember for a fact. I remember that very clearly because we were shooting in Katraj, near Pune, and I had to take the food to the unit. And that was the day the election results got announced. And I heard the news that Mrs. Indira Gandhi had lost the election. Not only her majority and the Janata Party had taken over, I had never recorded the Rudraveena before. So I was trying all kinds of stunts, putting it into the tomba, sticking it onto the tomba, the left tomba, the right tomba, and not quite being satisfied with what I was getting. Then बड़े उस्ताद says कि ये दोनों तोम्बे पे ही तो अटका है, एक तीसरा तोम्बा है उसके ऊपर तो माइक्रोफोन क्यों नहीं लगाता, meaning is belly. आखिरकार वो तीसरा तोम्बा ही काम दिया. So, but you were always given an opportunity of sort of trying out things before you started. And I was coming de novo into this film. I hadn't any clue of what this film was going to be about, etc. And it was all live music recording. A tough job in any case. Yesterday, while talking to other people, I discovered that talking about money he's best talked about anecdotally. You can't really sort of describe him or this thing. If you want to talk about him, you've got to talk in terms of anecdotes. The next film I worked on is Mati Manas, again, I'm talking about a time much later, sitting again in Aradhana, chatting in the middle of work, when somebody asked Mani and me a question about our times in the institute, which seemed to imply that we were contemporaries at the institute. So Mani says, do you think we were there together at the institute? So the person asking the question said, yes. He says, no, he's a junior, a bloody junior. Which is true. He's from the second batch, I'm from the 13th batch. But we worked together over an extended period of time, and people had sort of assumed that we knew each other from then, which is not true. I bring this up because Mani could work with lots and lots of new people. Marty Manas, the cameraman, was fresh out of the institute. The assistant cameraman was fresh out of the institute. The editor was fresh out of the institute. They were just had passed out and they joined the unit. And they have done phenomenal work. I also feel that among the best work which I have done have been with him. As far as Marty Manas goes, the film is dubbed, but it includes a lot of live elements. Most of the ambiences are from the locations themselves. They are not from libraries or this. They are actual locational ambiences. Now, I used to insist that I get 5 minutes after the end of the shooting to record a continuous 5-minute stretch of ambience. You would assume that it's quite easy, but believe you me, it doesn't work that way. At the end of 1.5 minutes or so, somebody would say, "Kya 5 minutes hua nahi?" So after that, I used to say, I will tell you when 5 minutes are over by my watch. Till that time, you keep shut. If you interrupt me, I'm going to start from zero again. After that, things got better. We were synchronizing some ambience or some effect which wasn't really in sync with picture, so it could be shuffled around. More or less where it should be had been determined. And Mani was also there, and I was saying, आधा frame आगे ले ले, एक frame पीछे ले ले, एक frame और, and it was usually we were shuffling it over about half a frame, 1 frame, and I felt it didn't really make much of a difference. So I asked him, whom are you synchronizing it for? The guy sitting in the first row of the auditorium or the last row of an auditorium. In those days, the auditorium were much bigger than this. And believe you me, there is a significant, at least definitely more than a half frame difference between the first row and the last row of a theatre. So I said, यार तू बोर हो गया, रहने दे, यहीं रहने दे. उसका मिक्सिंग खत्म हो गया, लेकिन असर काफ़ी दिन तक पड़ा रहा. दूसरे दिन मैंने अपने ऑपरेटर को डांटा कि मैंने रील क्यों नहीं चल रहा है. Or the talk back. He says long pause, takes a long pause, and ऊपर से जवाब आता है, and मंगेश जी mimics it. Thread हो रहा है साहब. इसलिए तेरी फिल्मों को मिक्स करने से मैं डरता हूँ. Anyway, the mix started. He finished one reel, declared it okay, And I was sitting at the side violently shaking my head, and Mani was also not quite pleased. So, and it's sort of unheard of to question Mangeshji. I mean, people were scared of him. I don't think they really had any reason to be scared. If you had done your work properly, he showered praises on you. But if you had slipped up and provided him with a shoddy job, he could take you apart. And also, given the technology at that time, where he had to mix each reel as a complete, in a complete go, this start-stop method of mixing wasn't there. There was no automation. He had to start in the beginning of the reel, end at the end of the reel. So if the tracks hadn't been laid out for him to be convenient for mixing, it would become very difficult. And hence, I think he had every right to complain about improperly laid tracks. Anyway, so I'm shaking my head violently. He says, "Kyun, kya gadbad hai?" I'm like, everything but everything was too loud. I think this film needs to be mixed much softer. इससे सॉफ्ट मिक्स करूँगा तो कहीं सुनाई नहीं देगा. Now, one of Mangeshji's standard statements used to be, भिवंडी में सुनाई देना चाहिए. So I sort of reiterated his own statement to him and said, now this is a 90-minute 9-reeler documentary. It just went slickly and smoothly. I think I should talk a little more about Mangesh also. During the course of this mix, there was a minor correction to be made. There had been similar corrections before also, which I used to go up to the projection room, do it on the synchrometer, come down.